All right, hello, my wonderful students. Today we're going to be solving equations with more than one step. Okay, so just to kind of get an idea how we do this, it's very similar to an equation sign. So we're going to pretend this is actually an equal sign for most of the part. There's only a few rules, or I should say one rule we're going to go over in this point that has to do different according to this, but we'll get there when we actually get there. So similar to solving equations, I always want to say we have to isolate the variable. And we isolate the variable, and the way I always explain to all my students is that I always say that we want to pretend that the A, in this case the variable, is an old man that's very cranky. And basically, the old man just wants to be left alone. So we got to get everything away from that side where the old man is. So we're going to do that. So the easiest way to do this, to solve equations or inequalities, is to do the order of operations on the side that the old man is on. So, for example, if we get our negative 3a plus 4, that's everything that's on the side of the old man. So we're going to do our order of operations. If we remember, it's our please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, which stands for parentheses, exponents. Multiplication would be like if we had 2 times x, or sometimes we see it as 2 parentheses x, which is the same thing, 2 times x. Division we see like this, but in reality it's the same thing as a divided by b. And addition, anything that has a plus sign, and subtracting has a negative sign. Okay, so if we did our order of operations according to this here, the first thing that's happening to the a, we don't see parentheses, we don't have exponents, but we do have multiplication. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to multiply by negative 3. We can actually write that a little bit better. By negative 3. Put it like that. Okay, and then the next thing we have is we're adding 4. Add 4. So in order to do our steps to solve now, all we have to do is the opposite of what's going on here, backwards. For example, instead of doing the multiply first, we're going to do the add first. But the opposite of add is subtract. So we're going to subtract 4 to both sides. And then we're going to do the opposite of multiplication, which is divide by, and then our negative 3 again. So this is the order we're going to do to solve. So if we go to back to our original equation here, we have our let's do it in blue. We have our negative 3a plus 4 less than or equal to 16. And the one rule that I said that it was going to be different is that whenever you add or subtract by a negative number, whenever you multiply or divide by a negative number, which we're doing here on the thing, and we're actually dividing by the negative number, I always like to put a box on here on our steps to solve, and I'll explain why right now. Because whenever time we do that, we do have to flip our sign, which I'll explain once we actually have to solve. So our first thing we're going to do, which I'll do in green, is we're going to subtract 4. So we're going to minus 4 to both sides. Once we do that, we have our negative 3a comes down. 4 minus 4 equals 0. So we could have put a plus 0 here, but we normally just leave it as it simplifies out, or it adds out or subtracts out to 0. And we have our less than or equal to, and 16 minus 4 is 12. Then next on our list, we have our divide by negative 3. So we're going to divide both sides by negative 3. So this would simplify as just a, which is perfect because we want to get our old man by himself, which he is. And then we have negative 3. Then we have a negative 4 over here. The reason why we box this up here is it reminds me every time that I multiply or divide by a negative sign, I'm going to flip this sign here. So I'm actually going to, let me do that in red. I'm actually going to flip this sign here. So I'm actually, instead of having less than, I'm going to have greater than or equal to negative 4. And we satisfy all things. Our old man is by himself. He's in front, which he likes to be. And we solve for inequality.